It's get it's getting to the Thanksgiving being so late. I had this like minor panic attack on Saturday, realizing like I've really gotten nothing done for Christmas so far.
My mother called me the other day and told me that she is like, "Oh, I finished my Christmas shopping." And I was like,
Okay,
"You
kind of
know
hater.
what? Nobody needs to hear from you about
Right,
this right now."
right. No, I mean literally, I think I bought like maybe three gifts.
And we
Not
have truly there's like 50 people in my family. I mean, not my obviously not my immediate
right.
family, but like in the family that we go spend Christmas with, there's 50 people. So like my mother is a machine. I don't know what she's doing. She's
What is she,
retired.
does
She's
she start?
retired. So,
Does she start in like July?
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what
No,
my
she
sister.
starts in like she starts like the day after Christmas. She
Oh, okay.
starts buying things for people.
All right. My sister would, when my kids were little, my sister would like, in July, she'd be like, "Oh, I'm done with my Christmas shopping." And I'd be like,
I know.
I can't even think beyond tomorrow, let alone it's
I know.
July. I'm not thinking about Christmas. Thank you very
Well,
much.
now I do like stocking stuffers for her because we do like my mom's a big stocking stuffer person. So we do like fill each other's stockings up. So all year long, I like if I find little things, I like buy those. So I'm good on stockings, but like regular gifts, I'm so bad at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm getting really bad. Like,
Yeah, I'm like
oh,
surprised everyone's getting books.
you're getting books or a gift card? Go
Yeah,
buy what you want. Go buy.
exactly. I mean, luckily I'm good at picking out books, so I give you good books, but
There you go. There you go. I love it.
you know.
Okay, Dee, I'm glad that you're liking the Zoom reminders because it's an automatic thing that I set up. And so it sends you all out a reminder. So, okay, uh I think that I've only got this set up through the end of the year. So I'm going to try and figure out. I think there's a way that everybody that's automatically registered, y'all just keep getting this. But after the first of the year, I'm going to try and figure out if I can just export y'all into a new like chunk of tea times where you don't have to re-register. So I'm working on figuring that out. Learning something new every day. So there we
We also
go.
have to figure out our schedule, like if we're going to be having tea times on the 23rd and the 30th. And
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully we'll find out from we'll send a little query out to our friendly reps to see if y'all are around because I'm definitely not going to be around on the 23rd, but I will be around on the 30th. So 30th I'll be around for, but I won't be around on the 23rd. So there
what
you
about you,
have it.
Julia? You do anything?
Technically, I have both days off, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't come hang out
Oh,
for a second.
Just hang out for a second. Give us some good
Yeah,
book recommendations.
exactly,
Because
exactly.
yeah, the one that I'm going to talk about is definitely a good Christmas book recommendation. But Julia, we're going to start with you and then I'll go and then Amanda can go. So
Okay.
Julia, start us off.
All right. Well, my first one is one of my favorites of the season, actually. I'm so glad it comes out tomorrow. It's called Sweet Vidalia by Lisa Sandlin, as you can see. Um, and this book, so Lisa Sandlin, this is her first book at a like big five publishing house, but she published through a smaller press and she published mostly like crime thriller novels. Um, this book is not a crime thriller novel, but because she has written so many of those, she it feels like it in that it pulls you through. So the story really moves in this book. Um, and this book is about a woman. She comes home one day in the first chapter. She comes home and her husband basically drops dead in the doorway in front of her. And she realizes as she's sort of sorting out everything after his death that he has had a secret family the whole time they've been together, that he was in massive amounts of debt, that they don't own anything. So this house is not theirs, the car is not theirs, none of this is any of their stuff. And it's in the 1960s. And so as a woman, she cannot have a credit card, own a house, rent an apartment. Um, And so it follows her as she sort of like tries to rebuild her life after this. It is so good. The first thing I thought when I read it was like, this would be a great book club book. Like, such a great discussion to be had around this book. I think too, like, even people my age, and I'm, 40, and but like we forget how soon we forget that like women only gain some of these rights like very recently in the past 50 years or so. And so it's just it's a phenomenally written book. It never feels like you never feel bogged down and heavy about it. Like you keep wanting to read it and know what happens, even though it does touch on some heavier subjects. But just a great book. So Sweet Vidalia by Lisa Sandlin, that comes out tomorrow.
Oh my God. I mean, you had me on it's like, none of this was real. None of this is yours, by the way.
Yeah,
Holy cow. That sounds
yeah,
like a really good one. Love it.
yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah. All right, Diane. Yes, thank you. I'm trying to do my best. And the grandkids were great, by the way. I don't like to talk about the grandkids too much because people get bored when people talk about their grandkids, but they were pretty fun.
Good.
They're 21 months. And that to me is like the sweet spot. They're just like starting to talk and they're just I gave one of them, obviously you feed them, they're doing stuff. And so I gave them off. I was eating my little dessert and gave them a bite of we were talking about earlier, all the desserts that I make. I make about 5 or 6 different desserts. And one of them is a cranberry orange cake, which happens to be my favorite. So I was feeding one of them some whipped cream and gave her a bite of the cake, and she took it and went like this on the plate and went, yucky.
I love it. I love a personality.
Oh, yeah. It's like, okay, sister. Okay, sister. But so they were here. So I got 0 reading done while they were here, obviously, because you're just chasing around. Oh, yeah, there is a big sale going on at Libro.fm. Yes, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. And that's actually another really good gift to give to somebody if you are thinking of something to give to someone, is give them a Libro gift card. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is, let's see if I've got it queued up here. That should be what I'm looking at. Time of the Child. And I can't ever know. Okay, Amanda and Julia, help me say, is it Niall Williams? I don't
I
know.
think it could be either, yeah, Neil or Niall. It probably depends on what your accent sounds like.
All right.
Uh,
Okay. Well, he's Irish, obviously. You know my thing for Irish authors. Just saying. Um, okay, so this is actually, so if you read This Is Happiness, there's a fictional fictional village called Faha, in Ireland. And then we go back there, but you do not have to have read This Is Happiness. There's just some characters that he meant, so there's nothing it's not a sequel in any way. Um, I read this in 2 sittings. If you are a fan of Claire Keegan, you're going to want to pick this one up. Even though I read it in 2 sittings, it's only like 287 pages. Every sentence is just a jewel. I mean, his writing is absolutely phenomenal. So let me stop sharing this for a second. So it's 1962. It's the Advent season. And during the Christmas fair where everybody goes, there's a market that comes once a month, and this is the Christmas market. And everybody's bringing their wares and their cattle and everything to trade and to sell at the Christmas market. And a 12-year-old, one of the village little boys, a 12-year-old little boy who has got his own little great story, and is just has this big heart. He ends up finding an abandoned infant baby girl in the church yard, and takes her to the village doctor. So this is the story of the doctor, his spinster daughter, and what happens with this baby girl that gets brought to their home. It's heartwarming. There's some funny parts, there's some sad parts. It's about what community is. It's about what being in a small village is, and everybody knows everybody's business. But more importantly, this is, it's the complexity of Niall Williams telling a simple story in just the most brilliant way. And it is just phenomenal. And it would be a perfect Christmas gift. Great book club book to talk about as far as his writing is just chef's kiss. So can't recommend Time of the Child enough. And if you haven't read, if you get this one and you haven't read This Is Happiness, you have something else to look forward to. So there you go. That's mine. Amanda, what do you got?
I'll follow suit and talk about some fiction. We Warwick's Booksellers recently were asked to choose our favorite books of the year for holiday gift giving recommendations. And it was hard to pick fiction. There was a lot of good fiction this year. Couple of the ones I chose were Martyr and The Ministry of Time. But after I picked, I remembered even more. And one that I think got a little bit missed is Enlightenment
Hmm.
by Sarah Perry. This is the author of The Essex Serpent, if y'all remember that one. It was quite a while ago, but it was a big indie bookstore hit. This one is so beautiful. It is a small town in Essex again, and there's this writer who becomes obsessed with an astronomer who is said to have to haunt a local home. And it I'm not going to do it justice talking about the storyline. It's it's just beautiful. It There was a great blurb on it from Telegraph that mentions it's compared this writer is compared a lot to Sarah Waters, if you're a fan of hers,
Mhm.
or A.S. Byatt, a little bit of a throwback. And this blurb says, like Possession by A.S. Byatt, Enlightenment is a Baroque, genre-bending novel of ideas, ghosts, and hidden histories. A richly layered epic and a heartfelt paean to the consolations of the sublime, where religion and science meet. Um, yeah, so if you like a well-written um historical-ish novel that marries the past and the present, science and spiritual, this is a beautiful choice, a beautiful package, a beautiful gift. And likely that if you have someone who reads a lot of fiction, I feel like this one didn't get a ton of play. So it's probably likely that you wouldn't be regifting something they've read already.
They've already read. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Essex
Mhm.
Serpent that was one of my favorite books when that book came out. And
Really.
I haven't had a chance to get to this one. So to your point, it's like it really needs to get bubbled up for
Oh,
that.
it's so quiet. It's not like a ridiculous plot or, it's but her writing is beautiful, just beautiful. And
Her
I,
writing
I
was, yeah.
cried. I cried so much. It's so well done. So yeah, Enlightenment.
Beth's on here saying that she has a copy. She's looking at her TBR bio with Enlightenment on it as we speak. And it does have a beautiful
It's
cover.
so good, Beth. I hope you read it soon. Or
Uh,
gift it to someone who you think will like it.
Yeah. And Julia, just so you know, in our picking of what books that we were our favorites of the year, my fiction pick was Wolf at the Table.
All right.
So good. I mean, it's
All
not
right.
exactly the holiday feel book, but if you wanted, it truly was my favorite book of the year as far as fiction goes. I mean,
Amazing.
it was just, I think it was just so well done.
I love that.
And Kim, I see you on here. I have not read The Blue Hour, Paula Hawkins, yet, but she actually was here, and we did she was at a fundraiser event that we did for Words Alive, and her talk was fantastic. So, it again is another one of those that's on the list, but I haven't quite gotten to it yet. So, but I hear it's a good one. So there we are. All right, Julia, what's
Okay,
next?
my next one is another fiction. We have like a couple of late play fiction titles that I think are great this year. This one called I Might Be in Trouble by Daniel Alleman. And this is you guys, this book is so much fun. It's a little bit dark, There's like a little bit of mystery, but it's basically gay weekend at Bernie's. So, so this book is about like a novelist. He wrote like a debut novel that was just a huge smash hit. Um so he has a bit of fame, like people do know who he is. And he's tale as old as time. He cannot for the life of him write the second novel. You,
We'll just do a split. Here's part
or you
one,
can
part
just
two. We do
you
part
can
one, part
sometimes
two.
you can stitch them together too. I'll teach you how if you need me
Well,
to.
but one's on her computer, one's on my computer. I guess I'd have to send it to her.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll
Well,
teach you.
we're back for round two.
Okay, so gay weekend at Bernie's. So this novelist can't write for the life of him, can't write the second novel. He's having so much trouble. And he he ends up like having a grinder hookup. So, and this man dies in his bed, and he doesn't know really how or why. And he's like, what I don't need right now is this, like the press that's going to come from this. So he weekend at Bernie's this man and
Oh my
tries to get him
God.
out of the apartment, and tries to get him sort of like to get rid of this body. And he's like going all over New York City trying to get rid of this body. It's hysterical in certain ways. Then there's also like a question that arises of like, why did this like young in shape, like dude die? And that really like sends you down a rabbit hole. So it's like I said, there's a little bit of it's like a little bit of dark humor to it. But it is so much fun. Every bookseller that I've like put in this book in their hands has like written me back and been like, Julia, oh my god, this book. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, it's just sort of a delight. So
And it'd be one of those fun ones, especially for the holiday season, just like a fun little, like when you're stressing out about shopping or doing whatever, it's just like,
totally,
pick this one up and go. Okay,
totally.
Amanda, we're not sure what happened to you, but you went away and the recording stopped.
Yeah.
So I think I'm recording on my computer now. So I'll just send you the file and we can either do part one or part two, or Julia says she
Okay.
has the magic on how to stitch it together. So
Oh, fantastic.
yeah.
iMovie is your friend.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is what called Havoc by Christopher Bolin. And he's actually going to be in the store tomorrow. We're doing an event with him. The book comes out tomorrow. Oh no, the book came out in November. And but he's going to be
No,
up in LA, I think. What's that?
it's out tomorrow, I think.
Well, why does it say November 6th on my the ship date? Never mind. I'm looking at something. I'm looking
Yeah,
at my screen.
you've got a book launch on your hands tomorrow.
Okay, there we go. Well, there you go. Look at that. Look at that happening. So, this is just one of those books. I gave it to Chris, one of our booksellers, or I don't think I had a copy of it, but she took it out, of the store. I'm going to stop sharing because I just like to look at all your faces instead of the little book cover. So she took it out. She texted me back after she read it. She goes, okay, that just wreaked havoc on my brain. It is just this book that is just, so there's this older woman who is in this hotel in Egypt, and she's not a very reliable or nice older woman. And this young boy comes with his parents, and they just like wreak havoc on each other and just do some just crazy things with just a psychological warfare that goes on between the two of them. It's another one of those, kind of to your point, Amanda, it's a little hard to describe, but and there's not really there's a little bit of a mystery to it as far as like what happens with her daughter and some things that go on, but and there's a murder that somebody ends up dying. But oh my God, the twisted things. It's kind of like what's the little girl that started all the fires that was it a Stephen King little kid? I can't remember.
Firestarter.
Firestarter? Maybe Firestarter. Yeah.
Starring Drew Barrymore.
Yes. Okay, where it's just this like really bad seed, just like the bad seed. Oh my God. But it's so it's so great in that it's this older woman who's like in her 80s going at it with this like, I don't know, the kid's like maybe 7 or 8. And it's just and he is as much of just psychological warfare with her. Oh my God. It was so good. It was so good. It was so twisted in such a great way. So anyways, he will be at the store if you're in San Diego tomorrow. He'll be at the store. We'd love to see you. But if not, pick up Havoc. If you have anybody that likes those twisted little kind of tales, it would be a great book, gift book for somebody. So another fun one. All right, Amanda, what do you got next for us?
Well, this is not one that was overlooked, but I'll talk about it anyway because it is now available in paperback and it you've heard about it already, but I'm going to talk about it again. It's
Oh,
Orbital. Yeah, it won the National Book Award. Or no, the Booker Prize, pardon me.
Booker. Yeah, the Booker.
Booker Prize winner. Um, this is a fantastic stocking stuffer. It's only about 200 pages now in paperback for someone who is a reader of pretty much anything. The story is that you follow 6 astronauts on a space station, and they're from America, Russia, Italy, Britain, and Japan. And it's almost like a pastoral in space. I mean, you're following their everyday lives. If you've ever wondered about what being an astronaut is like, just the small things it talks about, eating and being in a body, like having to exercise, or else your muscles will atrophy. But also, it's so beautiful because it talks about these people's inner lives and their lives on Earth. And it does so much in such a small package to give you this vast view of life and the wonder of our planet and the wonder of just being alive. And yeah, so if you want a stocking stuffer or even a host gift for someone you know reads a lot, Orbital, you can't go wrong. I love Samantha Harvey too. I've been following her for a while. She wrote a book called The Western Wind. It's a really good mystery, I think, like a historical mystery. And she's written nonfiction. She wrote a book called The Shapeless Unease about insomnia. And she's just a fantastic writer on all sorts of things. And I'm really glad to see she's being recognized with the Booker.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the Booker. Juliet's my favorite award too. I always follow the Booker winners. I love them. Um, and Amanda, I mean, I might be wrong in my comparison of this, but it reminded me, and I mean, Anthony Doerr does these big scope kind of books, and this is this kind of scope, but it had a lot of reminiscent to me of Cloud Cuckoo Land in the feel, and I'm not sure why, but it did. And I just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah,
With Cloud Cuckoo Land, I was just so stunned by the clockwork, like
yes,
like the way he plotted everything out.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
but
so and that he did, like I said, that he does in this like beauty this it's amazing what he does in this scope of things and then brings it to this apex. But
yeah,
I had a feeling of Cloud Cuckoo Land when I was reading this one, and I loved it.
yeah.
I loved this book. I was sitting across from Paul Lynch at a Winter Institute dinner, who he was the Booker winner of Prophet Song. And he actually was talking to the publisher about Orbital, and this was back in February, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a book I need to read." And yes, I did. Yes, it was. So some of those good recommendations come from very interesting places. So that's good. All right, we're already at, but if you've got a couple more to talk about, Julia, you go.
Okay.
Are you done, Amanda, or you got another one?
Do one more, but
Okay. So Julia, we'll go to you, we'll go to Amanda, and then we'll go back to you if you have a fourth.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this next one, this is Blues in Stereo the early works of Langston Hughes.
Mhm.
And this is curated slash edited by Dinez Smith, who's a wonderful poet. Wrote a book called Homie that I really love, a poetry book called Homie that I really love. And this is a collection of a lot of the works of Langston Hughes that like don't appear in some of the bigger sort of compendiums of his work. A lot of it is from sort of very small literary magazines from the 1920s that, you know, aren't really archived that well. Um, you know, maybe just in a couple of places. And so thus it's been a little bit hard to find some of these stories. So this is a collection of those early stories that a lot of people don't know of Langston Hughes. So, you know, if you are a person who loves Langston Hughes, as I do, or if you're someone who doesn't really know that much about him, but is interested in things like the Harlem Renaissance, and some of this writing that came out of 1920s sort of Black intellectual circles, particularly in New York and Harlem. But this is a wonderful collection. I think it's a great gift idea, partially because if you have someone who loves this kind of work or Langston Hughes, they probably don't have these and they probably haven't read a lot of these stories. So yeah, it's just I think it's just a great collection. And I think one that is great for the fan. It's great to intro you to Langston Hughes. I mean, it's his early work, so you know it will sort of set you up to get into his later work. But yeah, just a really great collection of his early essays and stories.
Love it. And
Yeah.
like you said, great gift.
Mhm.
Got some
Awesome
great,
cover.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was a really good cover. Got some good gift ideas for y'all today. Okay, Amanda, you got another one?
Yeah. Uh, we talk a lot about literary fiction, but um, I'm also a big old nerd, and I miss the days where I didn't have anything to do because I was a kid and I could get into a new fantasy series and be excited about having more to read when I get into a new fantasy series. And so if you know someone who really loves fantasy and reads widely, but maybe is a younger person or is just getting into it, who may have missed some classics, um, I recommend Michael Moorcock's Elric series. And this is a beautiful compendium of the first four in the series because they used to come out as the really great small paperback pulps. Um, and so it's got pen papers that are maps, of course, because any fantasy worth its what's the expression?
Wait, worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, should have end papers that are maps. And Michael Moorcock is a really important writer, British writer. It says in his biography that the Times London actually listed him as among the 50 greatest British writers since 1945. He writes very widely. He writes great nonfiction and essays. He's won all sorts of awards, Nebula World Fantasy Award. And Elric himself, this is artwork from the artist Brahm. If you're kind of gothy and you know that artist, our hero is like a classic dark, brooding, troubled hero. Um, it's great. Like if you want to get lost in a new fantasy series and you know someone who loves to do that, this would be a great gift.
Love it. Love a good fantasy series. And like you
Mhm.
said, I love those because those are the things you have to just have the time to just like hours on end to just get into the world, you know. Hard to dip in and out sometimes.
This is really good, especially for winter time too. I'd say this
Yeah.
series specifically.
So Julia, you want to wrap us up with one more?
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but my goal after the election, sorry to bring it up, is to get some of my attention span back. I mean, obviously I have to read books for work, and I'm a fast reader, so that's usually fine. But what I've realized, and what I realized a couple of years ago, and I've sort of been struggling and trying to get my attention span back a bit, is that like I have a really hard time sitting down and watching a movie when I'm not in the movie theater, because things distract me. And so a couple of years ago, I subscribed to the Criterion channel to say to myself, put good movies in front of yourself and watch them. And so what I've really come to love about the channel, is that every November they do every month they do different sort of like categories of movies. So they'll do like, different like curated sort of channels almost, where it's got like 5 or 6 movies in a certain genre. So last month they had like a bunch of Winona Ryder movies. And then they always do horror. They'll do like foreign horror or whatever. So for November, there's a great Coen Brothers channel. And then they do every November, they do Noirvember. And so there are these great noir movies. So I watched, for the first time in a long time, I watched Double Indemnity the other day. And I watched The Maltese Falcon and some of these great old noir movies. And alongside that, one of our publishers, Running Press, has this great imprint where they work with Turner Classic Movies to put together these books on film. And I've probably talked about some of them before because I am such an evangelist for them because they are so good. But the one I sort of dug into is called Dark City, The Lost World of Film Noir by Eddie Muller. There's a couple of different noir books in this series. We have like one coming out later this month that's like called Falling in Love at the Movies. That's a little bit aimed at Valentine's Day, but it's got great photos and then stories about like the making of these movies. There's Chinatown, my dad's favorite movie, Chinatown. And there's just these like there's this great information about sort of like, in this book, what film noir was, why it was happening, what does it mean to be a film noir, and just these like great sort of stories from this golden age of Hollywood and of noir. So I highly recommend. This is Dark City, but kind of any book in this series, in this TCM series. I think they're great gift books if you have people in your life that are big film buffs. By Darcy. But like if you have people in your life that are big film buffs, that like these kinds of books, every book in this series is just phenomenal. They have a great like Hollywood Pride about gay films and actors and that kind of stuff. There's a great we have one coming out in summer that's going to be foreign films. So we've got all sorts of great titles in this series. So one to look at. But something that I've just been thinking about a lot is sort of like these great films that I think sometimes we forget or sometimes we don't sort of spend time watching.
Or have a different appreciation for rewatching them,
Totally.
And that's the thing. And like your Turner Classic series that you have of the books, they're really good books.
Stunning.
They really are.
Yeah. And so my first job when I first moved to LA was I gave the Paramount Pictures studio tour.
Cool.
So I know a lot about some of these older movies and I know a lot about this Hollywood history. And so I love to go through them and sort of like learn new things or like confirm that what I told everyone on this tour was actually correct. And
correct.
But
it's also, I mean, I know we can Google a lot of things and you can see things, but there's something about when it's all put together in a package like that, that's just in itself is a piece of art. And just talking about the art, I mean, it is really fun having all of that in one spot,
Totally. And just like how relevant some of these movies are. Like Double Indemnity is a great I mean, I hadn't seen it in probably 15 years and I was like, this is a great movie. Holy crap.
Okay, here's my question, because I'm really not a huge movie buff. I mean, I don't watch a ton of movies, but is there anybody in current time that does noir as well as it was done back in the 40s and 50s?
So one of the reasons they did this Coen Brothers alongside it is the Coen Brothers have done a lot of sort of what's called neo-noir
Okay.
movies. And there was a big sort of renaissance maybe in the 80s and 90s. So um, you know, films like, oh God, there's like a Kathleen Turner.
Oh, Body
She's in
Heat.
a lot of them. Body Heat. Yep. So
Okay.
those kinds of movies are like great old, they're like neo-noir movies. I don't know about, I mean, if they do them now, they're probably a little bit smaller just because of how Hollywood is
Right. Because you have
sort
to have
of,
an action film to make any
yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah, happening now. But yeah, I mean, the themes are still relevant. It's a
Right.
lot of it is, and I'll just say, also one of my recommendations, if you haven't watched it in a long time, is Gilda with Rita Hayworth.
Mm.
Um, like holds up, stunningly good movie. It's so
Oh,
good.
Oh.
So anyway, but yeah, so there's some great films to watch if you need a break from reading, but also some great books to sort of go along with. Um,
right.
yeah, and D,
Okay.
no problem.
I know. Good job.
Yeah.
I follow this streamer online, and they will stream all day, and I'm not sure how they're allowed to do this. I don't think they quite are, but they'll stream a bunch of movies within a theme just over the course of a day. And yesterday it must have been like neo-noir. So they
Mhm.
played Dick Tracy
Oh yeah,
with Warren Beatty and Madonna, and just
Madonna.
like a huge, and De Niro, like a huge, oh no, Al Pacino, like a huge cast of
You know,
like stars. And then Devil in a Blue Dress with Denzel Washington. It's based on a Raymond Chandler. Oh no,
no, Walter
Walter
Mosley.
Walter Mosley.
Yeah.
Walter Mosley, who I haven't read, but like it made me want to read his books.
Yeah, we have a new Walter Mosley that just came out, maybe, or is
Oh
Yeah.
coming
yeah,
out. It's yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
coming.
He's still writing to this day. But Devil in a
Yeah.
Blue Dress. If you've never read Devil in a Blue Dress, oh, great book.
Okay. There was a person that my very dear friend in high school. It was his best friend who I did not get along with. To this day, I can't stand this person. And it was at like I think it was either at my 20th reunion or something, and I had this black dress on, and he goes, "Oh, here comes the devil in the black dress."
Julie.
We kind of hated each other. It was
Yeah,
pretty fun.
that's a good streaming like lineup,
Yeah,
Amanda. Man.
I know,
oh
but
yeah,
like you
and
said,
Body
Kevin Young
Heat
did it.
also played, but
Oh yeah.
that's actually what got the stream cut off briefly. Something, yeah, it's
Yeah, he probably didn't
I
have
mean, Kathleen Turner in that movie
is chef's
um,
stunning.
kiss, chef's
So
kiss.
yeah,
So that was such. I remember seeing that in the movie theater. That's
yeah.
how old I
William
am.
Hurt. That's who. That's
William
who.
Hurt. William
Yeah,
Hurt. Yep.
ah,
yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. So great gift. Great gift.
Yeah, the TCM books, all the TCM books are good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We are having Tea Time Live on Thursday. It's called Rep Night or Tea Time Live if you want. So if you're in San Diego, please come by Thursday. It's going to start at 7. Julia, Shannon from Simon & Schuster, and Tom from Penguin Random House will be there. Gabe is actually working for Warwick's now. So Gabe is going to do some recommendations for us, and Mallory, our head buyer, is going to do some recommendations. So it's going to be a great night. We're going to give away some galleys. If you buy a book, you get a little ticket to get some galleys. So it's going to be a fun night. So if you're around town, come and see us. And yeah. And then I think we've got a couple things that are still happening at the store for events. Kevin from The Office, Brian Baumgartner, is coming to the store. Can't wait. He actually
That's
buys
cool.
pens at the store. So he'll be here on December 17th. So it's some great stuff I'm working on for the next year. So look for that. I hope we gave you some good gift ideas. And if not gift ideas, then just for your own reading pleasure during the holiday season. So with that, we're going to sign off and we'll see everybody next Monday. So happy shopping. That's what I will be doing this week. Trying to get that list, get the anxiety level down a little bit and get the list, get the checklist done. All right. Bye, everybody.
thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Julia.